you were at the very beginning of e-commerce. Actually, you predated me in e-commerce. That's not to imply you're older. I'm just saying you're more
I
experienced.
am old and I am tired and I've got no hair left. I am your future, you know?
Welcome back to Keeping Commerce Weird, the podcast where we talk about the weird things that actually make commerce work. I'm your host, Travis Hess, the CEO of Commerce. Today, I'm joined by someone who's been in this game long enough to remember when e-commerce orders printed out on actual paper, Andy Lark. Andy's been building in the space since the early days of Dell.com, and he's lived through multiple technology waves. Now he's deep in what might be the biggest shift yet, AI-first commerce. At its core, this conversation's about change. What happens when the interface changes, when search shifts, when voice becomes natural, when agents start buying instead of humans clicking. Because when that happens, everything foundationally changes too. We'll talk about why AI isn't just a tool upgrade, it's a systems rethink. Why orchestration might matter more than applications, and why feeds, structured data, and context could quietly become the new front door to your business. So whether you're here for a big picture strategy, leadership perspective, or just trying to figure out if the browser is actually on its way out, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. All right, first of all, I've been looking forward to this for like months. I feel like this should have happened probably 6 months ago. I've been itching to reconnect because I have to say I'll mention this when we get into the questions too. Your presentation at Summit was probably the most engaging presentation I've seen in 10 years, for whatever that's worth. And I
Oh, thanks. It's kind of you. It's kind of you.
I mean, listen, I would say if there was a lifetime achievement award for digital transformation in commerce, you, my man, are a shoo-in. You are a legend.
Oh, there you go.
You're modest. I don't expect you to accept that compliment or whatnot, but I can tell you, you have done more than almost anyone I can think of in this space. I've been in this space for 20 years, from the early days at Dell, at a tech exec across so many different industries and businesses and cycles of change and broader macro evolution. I was actually doing additional research to see how others describe you. I'm going to quote two things, which I thought were amazing. One, you're really known as a digital disruptor within legacy companies, but I think that's fairly obvious from looking at what you've accomplished and where you've been. But you've also been described as a digital transformation catalyst, which, if I was translating to listeners at home, you're not afraid to break some eggs, which
it doesn't make for the longest career opportunities, but you do get stuff done.
I understand. Listen, I've never been the most popular person. I'm drawn to these sorts of things where I would be very uncomfortable. I've said this in other conversations. I would be very uncomfortable to run something that was well oiled. Like if I hadn't created it myself, coming in to just sort of oversee it, it would make me uncomfortable and angsty almost. I feel like I'm drawn to things with potential, but haven't reached or exceeded the potential. But you see it. It's like seeing a house with really bad decor, but you see it for the bones and the architecture and and you can kind of see it in your head. Like, yeah, I'm not a French country person, but if I took that out and I painted the walls and brought in my own stuff, I can envision myself living here. I suspect you're probably similar.
Very similar. But what you're getting at there is, I would say, the central thing that holds most really good digital leaders back, which is when you're in these big enterprises, you just get trapped in the routine and ritual of doing things. And there's this enormous disruption and change going on around you, but your capacity to deal with that change gets completely absorbed with just the day-to-day struggle to exist in a business and the routine and ritual of that business. And it's why still to this day, what are we, 25 years into really the digital revolution, if you want to call it that, people still phone and go, hey, we're starting a digital transformation initiative. I'm like, you're kind of a bit late. You may want to do an AI transformation initiative instead.
It's crazy. I mean, I'm glad it still exists, because if they didn't, we'd probably be less relevant in today's society. But yeah, I mean, you could go back 20 years and you'd see the same stuff, the same like themes. Obviously, the stacks are different, the technology, the economy is different. Obviously, the structures are slightly different, but the behaviors are very similar, and the patterns of behaviors. Where I just generally speaking, I think most people don't like change. Most people like routine and comfort and things like that. It brings harmony and consistency and all of that stuff. And for someone like you or me or others that would consider themselves change agents, and not for me to put myself on your level, I think you've accomplished certainly way more than I have in my career. And I aspire to do more, but I think coming in and transforming, especially legacy established businesses with all the norms and the mechanisms and the culture and all the ingrained behaviors, to your point earlier, it's not for the faint of heart. You're not coming in, you're not necessarily popular. In fact, quite the opposite. There's a lot of scrutiny. There's a lot of people probably fantasizing Ally McBeal style and probably embarrassing you or shaming you or just somehow getting you out of the building. And you're cognizant of this. And I've joked about this in the past, like, when I used to commute to work, like everybody, in a car every day, driving home at night, out loud, reminding myself, I'm not the crazy one. Like, you've got to believe in the strategy and the framework and the vision of what you're putting in place. There's always going to be detractors and challengers. You just got to push through. You got to stick to it. And there are going to be some good days and bad days. And it is a bumpy, turbulent road. It's not for everybody, but it's that volatility at times that actually gives me energy. Does it give you energy?
Yeah, it does. I think, I think you go into something with a very clear idea and a clear vision of what the opportunity and what the outcome is going to be. And you get really energized by that. The challenge is the rest of the organization often is going, yeah, that's not going to happen. We tried that 2 years ago, or we tried that 5 years ago. And it's hard to sit there as someone driving a digital transformation initiative and go, maybe you just did it wrong. Or legacy organizations as a whole, let's just call them large organizations because legacy is a bit diminutive of what they are. They tend to look at something. If you look at a platform like Commerce and what you've got, they tend to look at it and go, does that fit how we run and do things and what we want to do? Does that fit with our current infrastructure modules and things like that? And that's a reflection of the maturity of a particular offering in the market. Whereas if you're driving digital transformation, you tend to look at what's on the outside and go, we need to change to fit that, right? We're going to change to fit that. So, yeah. And yet today, when most people look at their digital transformation, the modernization of e-commerce, the evolution of their e-commerce, they're largely sitting there going, yeah, we like all that bit, but all these other bits, we need you to change to fit what I've got. And as a result, most people are building custom jalopies that are not yet managed over time. They introduce levels of complexity and number 8 wire and duct taping and integrations and Zapier feeds. And then they wonder why everything breaks and why they have to phone 1-800 Accenture or Deloitte or someone to come and unravel the mess. And all you're doing is repainting a garbage truck. It's still a garbage truck. So the real courage comes from the ability not to just look at the technology, but also look at your workflows, your systems, your processes, and go, we actually want to change these. We have to change these to fit the platform. And then you accelerate outcomes exponentially.
Yeah, you were at the very beginning of e-commerce. Actually, you predated me in e-commerce. That's not to imply you're older. I'm just saying you're more experienced.
I am old and I am tired and I've got no hair left. I am your future.
Hey, listen, I'll take it on the you're a handsome man, and I'll take it on the accomplishment side. You certainly appear yourself actualize when you're in engaging, which is something to say, because not everybody is. But like, going back to the beginning, like, what, in your opinion, what did we get right then, and where did we accidentally kind of build constraints that we're still living with to this day, in your opinion?
Well, I go back right to the beginning at Dell and watching Dell.com be created around me. And back then, it was like, we had no idea, right? No one had sold a computer online. The first thing is, will anyone buy a computer online? And it was like, well, we better buy a copy of HTML for Dummies and figure out how to code this thing. And I think the early stage stuff is fascinating because it's, you're not worried about integrating it with the ERP platform. You're like, no, we'll just take the orders online and then we'll print them out and then we'll take them down to the call center and they'll re-enter the orders. And then you're not sweating security and fraud, and you're not, and then you're like, oh, what if people could review the product online? That'd be good. So you're not out in the market looking for a review platform. There is no social media. But one thing I learned there is I learned and saw this again at Commonwealth Bank. For those that are listening globally, it was one of the largest banks in the Southern Hemisphere, one of the largest banks in the world, in fact, was you've got to have that beginner's mind. You've got to have that beginner's mind that just says, we don't actually need to know everything, but we need to be really adept at learning and discovery and iteration really, really quickly. And I know that sounds kind of obvious, but it's actually the opposite of how most traditional companies work. They want certainty, they want confidence, they want it bulletproofed out of the box. And most of the time you're looking at things and going, I don't know. And a lot of it comes from, if you think about, this is a bit philosophical, but if you think about the way the brain works, right? The way the brain works is you've got this kind of instinctive mind that goes, yeah, let's switch it on and I'm reacting to something and we need to quickly get X in place. And then you've got your sort of intellectual mind. This is where I'm going to build an ROI blueprint or a revenue blueprint. But at the top of it is this intuitive mind. And I remember sitting at CommBank at the time, and no bank was really that active on Facebook anywhere in the world. But I sat with a couple of the team and went, look, my gut tells me this Facebook thing is going to be massive. And if we don't acquire our audience here now, we're going to be paying a fortune to acquire our audience here in the future. Let's just go for gold on Facebook. And immediately you get into conversations with risk and compliance, and we're like, no, it's just like, it's just like another medium. Don't worry about it. We're going to go for gold. And then, so that was my first learning really, was you've got to have that beginner's mind where you trust sort of your intuition on things. Like my intuition tells me that the kind of work you're doing with Feedonomics and stuff and being able to plug your e-commerce instance directly into, say, Perplexity, that is the future. That is the future, right? And that is actually quite different to how, say, product promotion or embedded commerce and, say, the traditional platform with Google works. Radically different. So we know, my intuition tells me that answer engine optimization should be a priority on every page, on every site right now. Go get it done. You don't need a business case. You don't need to overthink that. So the first thing is having that beginner's mindset where you trust a chunk of your intuition and you go for gold and you see what can happen. I think the second thing I've learned in all these organizations is that you have gold buried deep in the organization. And I remember landing at CommBank and sitting there and going, where are we at on the app? Where are we at on this? And it was all glued up. And looking at it and going, why are we not doing this? And, it's blocked because of this, it's blocked because of that, it's blocked because of that. And really, the business case was really simple. We were running on a CMS at the time that was actually end of life. It was no longer supported. It didn't become an ROI conversation. It became an instant conversation about risk. We need to get off this thing right now. And that unlocked the door. So my big thing was looking for the unlock, really go hunting for the unlock. I think way too many people look at new pathways in digital and e-commerce and try to justify them through the lens of ROI formulas and metrics and things, as opposed to looking for the big unlock. And that was my second big thing. The third big thing is most large organizations do not move at the velocity of the customer or the market. And they don't put the customer at the middle and go, look, the customer is actually going to move faster than we do. And so how do we actually get ahead of the customer? And I look at brands right now, big old world brands, but brilliant brands like Singapore Airlines. who have that ChatGPT, I believe, powered search bar. And then I look at who I book my travel with, Qantas a lot. It's like 20 clicks or something to, like click a drop down. There's only one airport they fly to in LA. It's LAX, but somehow they want me to select from 4 other airports. I don't know, whereas Singapore Airlines goes, hey, this ChatGPT thing's pretty cool. We could just type in, I want to go from Singapore to LAX on Thursday. I want a nonstop flight. I want to pay premium economy. There's your flight. You pay instantly, 1 click to buy. And then it pings you back and says, would you like your boarding pass now? So what they've actually done is put the customer at the center and gone, why do we force them to check in 24 hours before their flight and click screens and get a boarding pass? We'll just give them the boarding pass right now because they've bought the ticket. So that's my third big thing. I think that courage to go, we don't have to move as fast as AI moves, which is a really abstract idea. But we do need to put the customer at the middle and go, does this offer us a quantum on improving customer experience right now? And I don't think enough digital people have the courage to go, yeah, we've got to be delivering quantums of improvement in customer experience to win the digital battle. And if we deliver those quantums, we meet the customers quickly. We trust our intuition to meet the customers where they're moving to, which is AI-powered search, for instance. And we're willing to adjust our workflows and our processes to get ourselves on a platform that accelerates all these things, then we're going to be a remarkable team and a remarkable business. If we don't, we're going to be sitting here like some businesses, dialing it in 25 years' time, going, yeah, maybe we should digitally transform. That might be a good idea, It's a bit late,
Well, the lifespan now for somebody who hesitates, like it's death, right? For all practical purposes, like they're going to be extinction events.
It's a really good point. What I say to people is this: it's worse than death. Death would be convenient, right? If you just went out of business, you will go find other jobs and you might end up in a better company. The worst situation is you're going to sit there and stagnate in your career for another 10 years. You're actually, you're not building a career where your skills and your experiences put you at the top of any recruiter's list or business list. OpenAI is not going to phone you and offer you a job. So the real thing is worse, which is most of these businesses are able to survive for another 10 to 20 years before they face a catastrophic endpoint. A lot of the big traditional retailers still exist in the US. And they've still got big physical footprints and they've still got all this stuff going on. And yet their e-commerce experience is still woeful. And I just came back from a week on holiday in India, and it is staggering how evolved they are in e-commerce. My little battery thing fuse broke in my hotel room. And I said to one of my team, where can I get a new AC adapter, a big block, 120 watt adapter for my computer? I think it was, I can't remember what the site's called, Bingo or something. I can't remember right now. And I'm like, okay. She said, just go here, click, 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 pay. How long will that take to deliver? 15 minutes. 15 minutes. I can't get a taxi 2 kilometers in 15 minutes. How are they going to do that? Oh, they have warehouses every 1 kilometer. They have guys on bikes. 15 minutes. And it was there in 15 minutes. And you just go, why, with 25 years on, am I still battling to get anything delivered outside of Amazon, who's mastered it? It's just staggering to me.
I have a lot of theories on that, one of which is understanding management and orchestration, which I still think is deeply, deeply misunderstood because of this fascination with the front end over the last 10 years, thinking that solves all the problems. There's an experience aspect of that, but what's lacking, and now the agentic stuff's actually bringing it to the surface, is really all the stuff in the back office that allows this to really happen behind the scenes.
100%.
Which is how it used to be
when I said
back in the day. This, like back when retailers were trying to go online, no one really thought about the front end. Yes, of course, the brand folks wanted the CI and the UI to look to brand standards and things like that. I'm not trying to diminish the importance of taxonomy and UI and branding and things like that. But people assumed you would figure that out and it would map to the way that the comps looked. What they did not trust and what they struggled with was all the back office integrations and these disparate systems and all the things that are preventing you from being able to have something picked up in 10 minutes. How do I surface the inventory availability through the front end with ensurement that it's going to be sold at the right margin, it's going to be served up at the right location, it's going to appease the needs, to your point, because you've searched for specific dynamics that is surfacing that product in the first place. It's all the stuff that goes bump in the night has always been back office. It kind of didn't go away. It's always been there. It just was diminished in the age of digitally native brands that faced different challenges, right? It was about acquiring customers and disrupting legacy industries with simpler catalogs and no brick and mortar and selling through one online channel, which is amazing and disruptive in and of itself. But that also allows those brands to think that the commerce engine is the PIM, is the ERP, is the OMS, is the commerce, it's everything. It's the sun, the star, and the moon. And it is not. That's not the way anyone has really built that product and that interface historically. And it's not necessarily what folks want. They want best in class. They want, I guess my question is this: do you feel like my boss has this quote she uses all the time that perfect is the enemy of good, which I think is great. Like, it's like you get so wrapped around everything being perfect. Do you agree that we've overthought, like a lot of these larger companies have overthought things like they did back then still today, where they just can't get out of their own way? Like, it's almost easier for someone coming in from the outside to envision this in a different capacity than someone who's been on the inside in that legacy atmosphere. Like, it's almost like they're in their own bunker. Their only sightline is what they...
100%. And if you bring someone fresh and new in, they're often tasked because there's a problem. And they don't have the capacity to understand the existing system. So they just go, yeah, we're not going to use any of that. We're just going to use this over here. Because I know this over here and it's fast and it's easy to do. So we're just not going to use that. And the person coming in, because they're looking to move quick, will go, yeah, that's all good. Let's just do that right now. Let's do it. We'll figure it out. And you're going to make mistakes. And because you're new, you've got a grace period. And largely because you're new, you're sort of going, maybe this will be 3 years if I'm lucky. Whereas a lot of the existing team could have been there for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years in some cases, and they're in survival mode. So there's 100 factors that govern the new mind. And that's why I say one of the key traits, anyone who has been in an organization for a long time, you need to develop that beginner's mind, saying, if we were actually doing this, like, and actually thinking about the customer. And one of my messages constantly that I always get surprised at myself, because I make this assumption, is you're not the customer, right? I remember sitting with a month or so ago with my elderly mother, right? She's 85 years old. And I walked into her lounge and she's got this, it looked like a new couch. I'm like, oh, you got a new couch, Mum? So no, I bought the new couch covers on Temu. You know, they cost like $18. I'm like, wow, that's incredible, Mum. So you shop on Temu. She's like, oh my God, look at this. When you open Temu, there's this spinning dial thing, and I got like $600. I'm like, Mum, what are you talking about? She's like, that's amazing. And then it delivers in 3 days. Look at that. And I'm just like, I am not the customer, man. Like, I hit that Temu thing. I'm like, can you just make this ridiculous spinning dial thing go away? She thinks it's like the best thing in the world, and we're not the customer. And I think, you know, the advantage of the beginner's mind, whether you're in an existing organization or someone going in, is going, let me actually just go look at the customer and what the customer wants. Because if I reorientate to what the customer wants, our existing workflows, systems, processes, notwithstanding they could be there for compliance reasons, risk reasons, whatever, none of it actually matters to me. Because I'm just going to reorientate to the customer I have today, the customer I want in the future.
So let's unpack that a little bit, because I think you make some really interesting points in some of your observations. So you talk about the browsers becoming obsolete. right? That this is probably the last generation that'll use keyboard and mice, with voice and AI, obviously native browsers and personal agents shifting, obviously, those patterns of interaction. Uh, Typing, I think speed average is like 30 words a minute. Speaking, I think 200 words plus a minute. And voice is like 4x the interface. Like, again, I struggle with this a lot myself too with brands. If an AI agent is going to summarize your brand instead of your homepage, how do you, as a brand, how do you control that narrative? Does the customer want that? And B, assuming that they do, if you're a brand, an established brand, how do you need to rethink how you're approaching this versus how this is done before? And I think people take this very like exaggerated view and jump all the way to the future. And again, that future may be months away of where an agent's going to be out negotiating, buying on your behalf. And I think those in the space are like, okay, use cases for that. That's not every use case, but the foundation to allow that to happen architecturally is also the same foundation that's fundamentally shifting, that's going to allow all these other things to happen, regardless of whether as a customer, I want an agent to buy something for me, or I want it to surface something more relevant, or like just foundationally how everything's going to move in a different direction. What say you?
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there. I think we're in what I call the popular delusion phase of AI right now, where we imagine these agents are going to do my shopping. What that construct ignores again is a lack of understanding of the customer. We love to shop. We enjoy shopping. For many, shopping is their principal hobby in life.
I live in Texas. It's like eating out and shopping, I would say.
Yeah.
Cornerstone sports in society, I would say.
Yeah. So we love shopping. Shopping is not just a something we do occasionally. It's a social event. It's a construct we have. We love exploring. We love discovering. So there's integral elements of our human nature. So then you go to the second point, which is there are occasional purchases you make, which are high value, buying an air tickets for your trip to Europe. There's no question that I think in the next year, many of us will start using our own little AI travel agent. I've built one for myself that will go out and find me the best routes, the best fares, come back, give me advice, and then I still go to the website to book. But for those everyday purchases, my little example is last night I came back from India. I noticed we don't have any of my favorite soap. I'm so sophisticated. I have a favorite soap. What do? Well, I just go, Alexa, reorder Baxter men's soap and from Amazon. And we've reordered your Baxter men's soap. It'll be delivered tomorrow. I don't visit a website. I don't go looking anymore because I know what I want. So those,
you know what you want. You've already shopped. It's repetitive. It's subscriptive. It's
those occasional recurring. And I said also my AirTag batteries flat. Reorder a pack of AirTag batteries, and of course Amazon's like, we'll order you the 60 pack of the Amazon Basics. I'm like, oh my god, what am I going to do with 60 of these? But so it depends on the buying mode. What I would say to answer your question is this existential worry that most digital marketers have is, what's AI going to do to my site? Your site is going to be completely restructured and reinvented. If you don't start sitting at the table with folks like yourself at Commerce and go, look, I want a vision 24 months out of a completely AI orientated website. Every page is assembled and built by AI and optimized. Some of the best digital people I talk to globally right now are deeply focused on price optimization. They're focused on packaging optimization. They're focused on using AI to do native cross-sell and upsell, not just banal presentation of what's next, but intelligent. A great example being a pet food company I'm working with that sells through big online pet food sites going, Andy, you've just reordered your cat food for Suki. We noticed that you reorder every month. If we switch you to a subscription plan, you'll save 32% this year on your cat food. By the way, here is the hottest selling new cat toy you could buy for Suki. Do you know what I mean? It's not just banal images underneath it going, here are 10 other things you could buy. So the smart e-commerce person sitting there at the table with guys like yourselves going, what is an AI vectored web experience going to look like? Because if you don't deliver that experience, they are going to default to AI agents, AI native browsers, AI interfaces to do the shopping for them. Our job is to build remarkable experiences on these sites that we do have and reorientate them. Like I will always go to the Singapore Airlines site now they've got that feature or function. But now my AI agent that I built for myself does the majority of my searching for travel on the Qantas site because I can't stand going there.
Well, they keep recommending Long Beach as an airport.
Yeah. I mean, I like Qantas. Don't get me wrong; they're a great airline. To all those Qantas people listening, don't punish me. More upgrades would be good. So the third part of it is you've got to really look at it through the lens of the customer. You've really got to look at where you believe you're going to apply AI first. And then you've got to look at that journey outwards and go, yeah, the world will be different. World will be different. I don't know how many people listening are using AI native browsers, but I conduct a little experiment. I probably get to talk to 50 to 100,000 e-commerce leaders at conferences around the world annually. And I go, how many of you are using an AI first browser? Using Comet, using Dia, using Atlas, what are you using? I'd say like 10% of the audience are even playing with them. And I'm like, are you mad? Like, this is the future of the interface. And it will quickly switch to voice. And yet, how many websites do you run into that you can talk to?
Not a lot. You're right. Not a lot.
And so what do? You default to the AI platforms to do the work for you rather than defaulting back to your favorite brand website. I think the other thing that a lot of the AI popular delusion ignores is we do love brands. There's a brand I love in the US called Vuori. They make sort of athletic wear for and stuff. Great brand. And their site's just okay, average, slightly annoying. But I generally start looking for Vuori products in my GPT because the search on their site just is not good enough.
It's hard. So I've experienced the same exact thing with Vuori. It's so hard to delineate between like just the pants. What's the difference between the meta pant and this pant? They look the same.
And the core pant and this one.
And models. It's like, help me understand what the delta is because they all cost the same. And what I don't want to do is deal with the hassle of getting it and then having to take it back.
Well, yeah, and you look at it, you look at it and you go, okay, hang on a second here. We're talking about e-commerce 101 now. We're not even talking about AI. We're talking about, Andy, here's your closet of Vuori products you've purchased. Oh, by the way, you've had that hoodie now for 3 years. Might be time to upgrade. Your core shorts that you buy, that's what you bought last time. Would you like to reorder? Then you get to completely new dimensions. So I'm going to go a little off piste here, but it's a really interesting dimension, is how many digital leaders are looking at mass societal trends. Okay. So one of the mass societal trends right now is Ozempic in all its forms is driving significant shifts in weight. It's certainly for myself, it's been transformational, right? So what happens there? I'm on to my fourth pair of jeans from Mott and Bow, whatever they're called, who are absolutely useless at delivering anything to me in Australia, right? Super frustrating. But I go there because they're well priced and the product's just okay. And you go, how many of them are looking at that where you go into the site and saying, hey, have you lost significant weight or has your body shape changed since last time you're here? Because if you've gone from a 40 waist to a 32 waist, this is the new short you should get. It's like, how many are looking at that? Because that's driving enormous shifts in what people buy in supermarkets, what they buy on portion sizes when you're shopping for your favorite foods online for delivery. Everything starts to change. And I think you get back to core principles around e-commerce. Do you own your customer data? Do you own your customer? Do you know your customer? How do you show the customer? And people will go, oh, AI personalization is going to be phenomenal. I'm like, only if you know your customer.
Yeah, well, if garbage in, garbage out. If you don't have the data, I mean, this is kind of, we live in this space day in and day out. I think the The data is the unlock, the enrichment of that data, to your point, that also encapsulates trends and what the customer wants, along with brand standards and obviously product data within certain schemas, depending on where you're surfacing that data, depending on where the customer wants to engage you, whether that be on an owned channel or an unowned channel or a social channel or whatnot. That's where this is the big unlock. But without the data, without the schema, without understanding your customer, that just becomes generic in nature. And you end up on this kind of like meh kind of website experience that maybe the brand's strong enough that you're willing to, Qantas is a strong enough product where you're willing to put up with the inefficiencies and the annoyances of the interface because of your loyalty to the brand. But how long is that going to last until someone matches the experience or gives you a better one where it's like, hey, I'm going to try something else because I'm so frustrated by this.
100%. And look, when I look and go in and work with e-commerce leaders and they say, can you take a look at our Indian experience and just give us the 30,000 foot view? And I sort of go, look, data has the shelf life of a banana, right? How are you actually regenerating data? What if you just asked customers really simple questions every time they instead of these bullshit surveys you send out and then some automated email response comes back to you? How do you constantly turn yourself into a data magnet? Just capture little fragments. Ask me simple questions. Do you like to travel? Hey, when do you most wear your our track pants? What foods do you love? And so I think there are so many opportunities to refresh and renew data that most digital practitioners just don't even go after. They're just like, we've got your name, we've got your email, we've got your purchase data. We'll just assume that's what the future's going to look like. And they don't look at cornerstone metrics. I go into these brands and I say, okay, let's talk about RFM. And they're like, what? I'm like, recency, frequency, monetary value of the wallet. Like, what is the LTV on that customer? And I hate to use them as an example, but you look at the LTV of Apple must be through the roof because we buy endlessly that full spectrum of products. So the LTV is creeping up and creeping up. Now they've failed with a number of products now to expand the wallet with me, but man, it's always a new iPhone. Oh yeah, I better get another pair of AirPods. I always seem to lose one of them, not both of them.
That's by design. I'm convinced that's by design. It's like the software upgrades. It's by design that your battery sucks after 2.5 years. It basically is a time bomb of inconvenience and anger that you're just like, you know what? I don't give a shit if I'm eligible. I'm going to switch carriers so I get another one because I can't get the phone to last more than like a morning. And I'm not even doing it.
And look, the point you made earlier is on the money, which is when the technology changes, the interface changes. It always changes. So we shifted through the last 25 years to living in our web browsers. The future will not be the web browser. It'll still be there, but and I will still visit your website, but your website will take many different forms. It'll be voice driven. It'll be, we're already building full voice interfaces for restaurant ordering. You just pick up the phone, you phone Domino's, and you go, hey, I just want to reorder what I ordered last Friday. No problem, Andy. I'm just going to ping you a link to accept your order of whatever I've ordered. Click the link, done. I'm in the car driving. I've just ordered dinner. It's going to be delivered in an hour. Why do I want to go to your website? And then how are you going to drive cross-sell and upsell in that process? You look at the steps it takes you to make a restaurant booking. It's ridiculous. And now I think I counted there are over 200 companies around the world building voice-activated restaurant booking engines, and none of them are the legacy players. 7Rooms, OpenTable. I'm like, what are you thinking? Why are you not first to market where I just punch the OpenTable number and go, I'd like a booking at this restaurant on Friday night around 7 or 8 for 2 people, and I'd like a seat by the window. There's nothing available, but we can recommend these 3 other restaurants within 2 kilometers of it that are similar quality and standard and have 5-star ratings. Oh, I didn't know. Let's try one of them. Great, book it. Done.
It's like your little concierge, to your point on removing friction, driving value to the consumer. It's all based on behavioral stuff that just adds value to that experience, to that journey that you're going
Yeah,
to
and you
remember.
look at the endless mind-numbing, sickening spew on LinkedIn every day, and someone's going on about, oh, I've built this agent to do my restaurant bookings. I'm like, mate, there are 1,000 companies building that right now. That you don't need an agent. You just need a phone number and someone to call. And an entire category of billions of dollars of company valuation gets eradicated because some startup went, oh, we can build that and we can integrate it with your POS system so you can make the booking. And then you go, how far off that am I? Because I can already do it now with I'm one of those people that have just built a little agent. And I go, I just talk to Alexa, I add everything to my shopping list, and then my shopping list syncs with Todoist. And then I just go, hey, place my shopping list order on the Woolworths website. Done. I mean, that's the future.
My only critique of you in that is we got to get you on better pizza than Domino's, my man. Next time
Oh yeah,
you're in.
I don't need Domino's pizza, but
Good, all right, good. I was about to say we export a lot of shitty things in this country. Like, every time
it is, but I think you have kids too, and you know what it's like. You're like, I drive home thinking, oh, I'm going to get Mariano's artisanal seafood pizza with anchovies. Oh, I'm so excited. And you get through the front door and the kids are like, oh, let's get Domino's. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, no, really?
Just get this shitty processed, like chain, soulless pizza.
Yeah, but I am surprised at how some of the giants are able to dance. Brands like Domino's, very, very innovative, very, very driven.
They've always been. I remember back in the day. First of all, the Noid, I think they should bring back. That was a brilliant concept of someone who's going to wreck your pizza. That you get younger people now that look at you like you have three heads. What the hell are you talking about? Avoid the Noid. But they were, even with the box toppers, like they were one of the first and more innovative, like personalized couponing that were sitting on top of the box at the time, and used the delivery mechanism and the box as a medium to go build loyalty, incentivize, time-based offers to go reorder. They've always been their pizza. Sorry, no offense, Domino's, sucks, but marketing-wise, incredibly innovative.
Very, very good. And again, we're not the customer, right? There's a lot of people out there who can't afford that artisanal, thin crust, beautiful pizza. For them, it's convenience, great value, affordable family meals. So they have clear line of sight to who their customer is, which is a great thing. But you look at these brands, and every digital leader you talk to gets this and is trying to do it. But I always say to them, like, the best, people often ask me, when you meet digital leaders, where do you get most impressed? And I say, I get most impressed with those that just obsess over one thing endlessly, which is we just need to remove friction.
Yeah.
We just need to take friction out, because any friction limits purchases, limits me buying, stops me getting stuff done. I just resist it. I'm not going to be high frequency in my pattern with them. And I think one of the things that AI is doing, quite elegantly, is it's removing friction from everything. And that is just going to accelerate and accelerate. And the winners will be those that figure ways of it. My Singapore Airlines versus Qantas example being a good one. It will be those that just go, hey, what is the pain gain equation that I want to apply AI to? And I just need to look at the friction as a starting point and go, how can AI remove friction for the customer? And if I solve for that, I'm going to see net gains that are really, really significant.
Yeah. And it's allowing that to happen at a velocity never seen before. I think brands have always been wary of friction, although some, to your point, more than others. Like the Qantas example is an obvious one. It's sort of like, hey man, this seems like a problem that could have been solved 25 years ago. In what you're serving up as destination routes based on originating in Melbourne or Sydney or wherever, flying LAX. You're not flying anywhere else. That seems like a pretty basic thing we would have solved 25 years ago. But like, let's talk about like AI, what separates real adoption from like the corporate theater. Because we talk about this all the time internally. Like, if you're a commerce leader, you're in the space, you've been a commerce leader at many, many, many places. How do you, like, what would your coaching be to become irreplaceable versus replaceable? Because there is this angst of people. Most people that are angsty about it are angsty because they feel like, wow, this is going to replace me. This is going to make me superfluous. I've tried to challenge folks internally of, hey, instead of thinking about this, replacing 40% of our costs of our people, how do you leverage it to become 40% more effective immediately, or even more so, and drive value to our merchants and change your mind shift? If this is not a defensive position, this is an offensive position, to your point. How do you leverage it to be more client centric? How do you leverage it to be more proactive? How do you leverage it to because I'm convinced people, regardless of role, fill up a lot of time, no different than on the weekends, like putzing around the house, vacuuming, laundry, like all this tactical shit that everybody does, and it takes some time and everyone empathizes. AI actually eliminates a lot of that stuff where you can actually focus on the more strategic stuff. But I think most people have this like, oh shit, 50% of my day is now open to do more stuff. I've never had that before. I don't know what to do. Like, I think that's the hardest part. And the natural reaction is, well, if I don't know what to do, maybe I'm not relevant anymore. I'm not driving up value. And then my natural human reaction is defensiveness of like, ooh, I don't like how that feels. How do you, like, what's your advice to people? You advise people all the time in this capacity. Like, how do you just embrace the change, embrace the future, embrace where this is all going, so you become durable, irreplaceable, valuable? Like, is there a
And
mind shift?
I think that's the key word is AI will make you irreplaceable, or it will cause you to be replaced. One of those two things is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think, I have a huge amount of empathy for most people who are digital leaders, because most of them are working 60, 70-hour work weeks. Most are under enormous stress and pressure. Most of them are fighting to get data done. Most of them are fighting for just mundane stuff to be completed. AI can address a huge amount of that. So I think, if you get 30% more efficient, let's say with AI, that means you probably end up working a normal work week. How good is that?
Exactly.
But I think the other side of it, to your other questions, where do you start? I think you have to split the back office and the front office out. So you basically have to go, some of the best, as I said, some of the best digital teams I look at have an equally intense effort in the back office on pricing optimization, customer data augmentation using AI. They're doing really clever stuff with AI to build a better platform at a data, pricing, packaging level. They're greatly simplifying their PIM. I don't know what's going to happen to PIMs, but this idea now, do I need a PIM? Because if I can put everything into a context engine and build a master context server, AI can render the latest product images in the correct language with the correct whatevers based on GPT. So they're really looking at their structural cost in their stack. And so there's this strategy blueprint thing in the back office that a lot of them are working through. In the front of house, it still makes me smile, the number of them who are sort of spending majority of the effort on AI-centered image optimization, scaled video production. And I'm like, that's fantastic, but what's the net gain to you on that? They're like, oh, we got rid of 20 people in design. Well, fantastic. What are you going to do next year?
Yeah.
That's great, but what are you going to do next year? And have you really fundamentally changed the customer experience? So the best on the other side are doing the house cleaning now, which is good. Many aren't, but some are. But they're also fundamentally refocusing on what are the new AI-first customer experiences I can introduce that give me experience differentiation in the market, right? And so when I sit with these people, I sort of say, okay, if I look at your AI roadmap, what would the customer experience that they care about that removes friction, gives you a differentiated advantage over anyone else? Have you defined that? Most haven't. Most haven't actually ripped the playbook up on the customer journey, the funnel, whatever they want to call it, and gone, yeah, this is all wrong. What we want to do is sit with commerce, get Feedonomics working, surface in Perplexity, surface in ChatGPT. We're going to optimize that whole journey, and we're going to put the product in new places. So I'd come back to an earlier thing you said, which obviously I'm a huge advocate of, right? The interface changes. The other thing that I don't have time to talk about often when I'm on stage, because no one gives me an hour and a half, 2 hours, rightly so, they give me 40 minutes, and I swear too much, so it's probably good for the audience anyway.
You've been good today. We've both been good.
Yeah. No, I've been very good. I've got my swear jar here by me. The other thing I say is, are you looking at the structural distribution shifts that are going to occur in your market? Because also what changes then is structural shifts in the market. I mean,
give some examples for the audience. Like, I know I have an idea of what you're talking about, obviously, and where you'll go. But
yeah, I'll give you one that's close to my heart. Is it's easier to buy a car online than it is to order a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
Why? That's ridiculous, right? And that's because the entire industry structure is locked up in 19th century regulatory frameworks.
Yes. Well, it's never been known for being an overly. It's more of a lifestyle business, at least here in the States. I don't know a lot of people that go into the wine industry because it's a well-oiled machine. It's like,
and now that can be solved by a completely new digital e-commerce construct, right? That where I can go to the Quince website to buy cashmere and suddenly leave with a bottle of Dom Perignon. How many are looking at that?
In the States, because everything here is regulated by county.
You can do that right now in the US. You can go to quince.com, order your favorite cashmere for your wife for a birthday, and pick up a bottle of Dom Perignon at the same time, right? That is an enormous structural shift in the market, right? And so you look at that and you go, distribution changes dramatically. And in a whole industry's distribution pattern now starts to change and shift.
The two big themes like I've taken today, obviously the beginner's mindset and just this relentless and unforgiving focus on the customer, coupled with this embracement of what AI allows you to do and the pace by which it allows you to do it, most notably to go drive better frictionless experiences for customers. If you had an elevator speech for 45 minutes or 45 seconds in an elevator with somebody, would it be fair to say that those are probably the two main themes you would put forth that hold through today in the future?
100%. And I'll just give you a little bit of a clarifier on one of them. And there's one thing I'd add. Bring a beginner's mind to the table. Don't read the LinkedIn spew. Don't read all the nonsense. Really develop a deep inquisitiveness about how you would apply AI to your world, because every one of the listeners' worlds is going to be different. But as you looked at the customer, don't sit there in a room looking at research. Don't sit there looking at some third-party company you commission. Don't listen to your digital agency. Actually go meet real customers. Go sit in their homes. Go talk to them. Go find them in the airport lounge. Go ask them what they loved. Ask them what they didn't like. Ask them what you've got to do better for them.
Yeah.
So I just think, do go look at the customer, fall in love with the customer. And then the final thing I'd say is have the courage to move fast, but understand the way to move fast is not by dragging the platforms you're selecting towards your existing processes. It's about reimagining how you run today against the platforms like you're building at Commerce that represent the future.
Listen, Eddie, thank you, man. I really appreciate you carving out the time. I deeply, deeply appreciate your perspective on things. And I meant what I said earlier, the presentation when we first met down in Sydney last summer, I thought was amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing you again soon. And let me know next time you're down in Austin, man. I'd love to.
I will for sure. Or Dallas. That's actually my favorite city in America, believe it or not. So,
hey, I'm in Dallas today. Next time you're in Dallas, let me know.
I'll let you know for sure. We'll do that.
I want to deeply thank Andy for his perspective and participation. As I mentioned early on in the podcast, he truly is one of the legends in the space. I also want to encourage listeners to audit their AI readiness, assess their feed quality, have a beginner's mindset, and put the customer in the front of your universe. Thanks as always for listening, and remember, when the interface changes, commerce gets rewritten. Don't get left behind. And as always, keep commerce weird.